Good morning, everyone. It's Richard Kirkham here at Kirkham, a Movie a Day. It's been a while since I've done a video post, so we're just going to catch up here a little bit with the latest Mission Impossible starring the amazing Tom Cruise. I've got to admit that I'm a Tom Cruise fan. I know there are a lot of people out there who are haters, but I've never found him anything but entertaining on screen. I know that some people can't stand his personal life and the antics that he's been involved with. I mostly ignore those sorts of things. I'm interested in his performances on the screen, and he's been the biggest movie star in the world for almost 30 years. It's pretty surprising that at age 53, he's still making these films and being very convincing in the spy genre. I was very pleased with the new Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I thought that it continues the evolution of Ethan Hunt and the Mission Impossible crew. I appreciated all of the secondary characters getting a little bit more to do, with the exception of poor Ving Rhames, who seems to show up mostly because he's part of the team and has been in all of them before, so he needs to be in this one too. To be honest, like a lot of these movies, the plot is a little convoluted. I guess that's kind of what you would expect from the guy who wrote the screenplay for The Usual Suspects. He is both, Christopher McQuarrie is both the writer and the director here, and he does a very fine job, but the story is quite intricate. There are double crosses and twists, and I did appreciate the fact that you never were sure quite what the allegiances were of a couple of the characters. I thought they did that effectively, keeping you in suspense as to which side one of the characters really was on and how it was all going to resolve itself. In the long run, I think everybody would be satisfied with the way those things came out, because, let's face it, we all want the good guys to win. I did think, however, that the plot is a little derivative of some of the other Mission Impossible films, and in fact a lot of other films. Way back in 1962, when Dr. No opened up, we had a secret, independent criminal organization, Spectre, arranging for an intelligence agency to steal something for them from another intelligence agency. And guess what? That's the plot of Mission Impossible 1, Mission Impossible 3, and Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation. Basically, the IMF team is responsible for stealing vital information for another group in order to accomplish some task. So, like I said, it does seem a little bit repetitive to me, but that aside, the action sequences and the way the plot develops make it interesting enough that you'll want to pay attention. The villain in this film is kind of interesting. He doesn't get quite as much screen time as you might think would be necessary for a villain to be effective, but I think that that actually worked well in this situation. The guy stays more mysterious as a consequence. He seems more intimidating, even though he's not a strong physical presence. His demeanor and the attitude that he takes in the movie works pretty effectively. It's an actor named Sean Harris, who apparently I've seen in Prometheus and a couple of other films, but I thought he was completely unrecognizable in this film. That's hair and makeup and good acting. I thought his expressions were just exactly that kind of cold, calculated way that a chess-playing master spy would be working the other characters in the story. And basically it is a film that is a chess match between Ethan Hunt and the IMF team and the Rogue Nation syndicate that's out there, that's run by this other agent. I hope I'm not revealing too much when I say he's another agent, because it turns out that that's exactly what. Imagine if James Bond decided that he didn't like the way MI6 was working. He had his own agenda. He wanted to run the world in a different way, sort of like Javier Bardem offered him the opportunity to do back in the last James Bond film. Only in this particular case, he took advantage of that opportunity and decided to do things his own way. I guess the most dangerous people in the world are the intelligence community, according to most Hollywood motion pictures that deal with this spy stuff. Not the terrorist groups that we're facing, but the people who are supposed to be fighting those groups. It's kind of an interesting twist. I think maybe it's a little bit politically correct to go that direction instead of identifying an agent, or I should say a particular group or special interest group. Probably keeps it a little bit more topical also, so that 10 years from now we're not thinking, well, you're dealing with a completely different threat at this particular point. Um, well, there is also in the movie a fantastic opponent, ally. You're never quite sure. A character named Ilsa Faust, who is apparently also a British agent, and she is sometimes helpful and sometimes undermines Ethan Hunt and the team. You're not quite sure where her loyalties lie, and I thought she was really good. She's actually the star of the film. She gets more screen time. There's more character development to her part that there is in any of the other characters in the film. She is the central focus of the picture in the long run, and she's a very good match for Tom Cruise in this. I appreciated that they didn't overdo the romantic kind of attraction thing. This does not turn into damsel in distress or a romance. This is really a spy film that's focusing on spycraft and the action that goes along with what we suspect to be, this kind of story. But she was terrific in the movie, and I think that she'll probably, return again. Unlike a lot of the female characters that we've seen in previous Mission Impossible films, this one seems a lot more sustainable. Although, again, I'm not sure that it would be necessary. They do like these films to be kind of standalone. The team, you've got the usual team of Impossible Mission Forces. Simon Pegg is great. He is really a big part of the action here. I appreciated the fact that he is both kind of the comedy relief, but also is a serious part of the IMF team, and that's really why you have some investment in him as part of the story. There's some important elements of the story that fit into, or that he fits into. Jeremy Renner has joined the team in the last couple of films, and I think he does a good job. He doesn't get much chance to do a whole lot of physical activity here. I guess he's saving it all up for the next Bourne movie, but he does basically play the IMF team's representative to the CIA and to Congress, and he's pretty effective at again selling some character development and a little bit of plot exposition here and there, and he provides a slight amount of humor in the movie. Like I said, he didn't have to work nearly as hard in this as he has in some of those other films. Being in the Avengers also, there's a lot more physical activity that he's going to be doing in that than any place else. I mentioned Ving Rhames before. I like Ving Rhames. I think he's a good character. I like him as an actor. They just didn't have anything for him to do in this movie. He basically shows up and is in the background, and in one sequence, basically, they even showed that he doesn't have much to do with the film because he's so ineffectual at the one task he's given. It was a little bit strange that that's the way they decided to deploy him in the film. Let me see. We have a new character in the film played by Alec Baldwin, who is the director of the CIA. And in the past, we've had secretaries and heads of the IMF force that haven't stayed around very long. Lawrence Fishburne and Anthony Hopkins both seem like they would be big names. They might be continuing part of the series. Never came back for another one. I don't know if Alec Baldwin will have anything to do with this, but he, again, another one of those situations where you have mixed motives, and provides a little bit of a dramatic context for all the action that's going on here. This film mostly, of course, is an adrenaline junkie movie. The opening sequence, almost like a pre-title sequence in a Bond film, is the plane sequence that everybody has seen advertised in the commercials and that has been talked about so much. That Cruise actually did the stunt. The plane actually took off. He was hanging off the side of the plane, and that's the opening stunt in the plane. In the movie. So you can tell that this movie is going to be, packed full of a variety of bits that people are going to really appreciate. Um, there's a great sequence set in the Vienna Opera House that's reminiscent of an assassination attempt from the man who knew too much. And the resolution of it is a little bit right out of Speed. All right, Hotshot, what do you do? And Ethan Hunt has to make a very quick decision as to how he's going to act, and he makes the same decision that Keanu Reeves made in Speed. So I thought that that was kind of interesting. Um, you get the break-in sequence that occurs. Ultimately, it's the equivalent of the spies getting into the super secret, inaccessible recesses of some agency, some bank, some place. That's where all the suspense builds up. It's the equivalent of the sequence where Tom Cruise was hanging from the wire in the first movie. It's the same kind of thing that we're having here, only now it's underwater. It's in a high-tech location, and Benji is involved in the break-in also. So there's a lot of stuff that works well with that. And then the movie turns into a chase. To me, the best sequence in the movie is a motorcycle chase that happens right after that. And I think you'll find there's a nice, like I said, nice bit of humor, a lot of good action, good suspension. Holy criminy, do those motorcycles move fast. Very exciting stuff that's going on there. Look, there are plot twists all over the place. Like I said, you can't really tell what characters are going to be loyal or who is working for whom. Different spy agencies get involved. And like I said, it was very well scripted, but you're going to have to pay attention. And afterwards, it might be hard to keep track of what you just saw. But no, in the end, it's all a lot of fun. I like the resolution of the film also. I heard a little bit of criticism in a couple of other bloggers' posts about how they thought the ending was a letdown. But to me, after a good shootout and chase sequence, you get a nice payoff that fits in with an incident that happened early in the movie. And I think people will enjoy both the irony and the humor in that particular exit. So I can only recommend Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation so much. It's an excellent film. It's not a perfect film, but it has a lot of stuff in it that I think all fans of spy movies, and especially fans of action movies, are really going to like. All right, until next time, take care.